Hi everyone, my name is Shelby. Thanks for joining me on my channel. Today I thought I would talk about my 2021 TBR, the books that I would like to try to read this year. We'll see if I end up reading any of these books and sticking to it, because I'm notoriously bad about sticking to TBR since I am such a mood reader, but who knows? Here we go. Let's get into the video. So the first book that I'd like to read this year is going to be Blood and Honey by Shelby Mahurin. I read the first book in this series, what is it called? Serpent and Dove, last year, and I thought I was going to absolutely love it. And I heard some people absolutely hate it. While I wasn't in that boat, I was kind of in the middle. I could understand why people didn't like it, but I also didn't think it was like the end-all be-all of books. But I did enjoy it enough that I would like to continue the series, so I would really like to read this next book. And then the third book is actually going to be coming out sometime this year. I don't remember when. But if you don't know, the first book started out with, it is a witch and a witch hunter end up getting in a situation where they have to get married. And then things ensue from there. I don't know. It was pretty good, so I'm looking forward to continuing that book series. So then the next one I would like to read this year is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, and I know everybody has read this book. I still have not read this book. It has been on my list of books to read every year since this came out, but I still have not read it. Literally the only thing I know about this book is that it is a fantasy and it takes place, I think, in the same world as, oh, what's her other book? Oh, the Grisha series, Grisha trilogy, which I did read that and I didn't really enjoy it, so I'm not sure how I'm going to like this book and duology, I think it is. But I've heard this is on a lot of people's all-time favorite books. So again, I know this is a fantasy and it's got 6 main characters and it is a heist. And that's all I know about it, and I know people love it. So I hope to read it. The next one that I have is going to be, ooh, very shiny, Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I read her other series, the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy. It's been a while since I read it, and I don't really remember everything that happened in that book series, but I do remember really, really loving it. So I really wanted to continue and read more of Laini Taylor's works. So Strange the Dreamer was one that I thought sounded really cool. What I know about this one is that it is about this guy. His name is Laszlo Strange, and he has this obsession with this lost city of Weep is what it's called, and he ends up getting this opportunity to try and go find this city. Anytime I hear about this book, it kind of gives me Atlantis vibes, you know, the Disney movie, and Milo. It just, for whatever reason, it just reminds me of him. So, and I love that movie. So I thought it sounded really interesting, and I would like to read this and see if I enjoy it. And the next one that I would like to read is Beach Read by Emily Henry. This is another book that was just all over BookTube last year. Everybody loved this when it came out over the summer, and I would like to read it. So this is about 2 writers One is a romance writer, I know that, and then the other one writes, I don't know what he writes, if it's just like literary fiction or mystery something, I'm not really sure. But they go to this beach and are renting like beach houses right next to each other, and I think they know each other and they don't really like each other. I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, I don't know. And they end up getting like a writer's block, so they decide to swap genres and write kind of for each other, and they end up developing like a romance along the way. I've heard really good things, so I thought I would enjoy reading this, and I'd like to try to read this year. Another book that had a lot of hype over the last year is this book. So The House in the Cerulean Sea by Jay Klune. I've heard this is just such a sweet story, and it's on a lot of people's top favorite books of last year. So what I know about this one is it is about a like caseworker or something, has to go and check out this orphanage, which is this house on the Cerulean Sea, which is an orphanage that has the most dangerous children, and all of these, this is like a fantasy, all of these children, like I think one's maybe a vampire, I'm probably pulling that out of my head, I have no idea. I know they're magical type children, and they're apparently the most dangerous, the worst of them all. He goes there and kind of investigates the orphanage. I don't really know, but I know there's a case where that goes there, and I think there's a little bit of a romance between the caseworker and the guy that's in charge of the orphanage. But I've just heard really good things about this story. I've heard it's really heartwarming and sweet, and I'm just looking forward to a really like feel good little book, and I'm hoping it's as good as everybody says it is. Okay, the next book that I have is The Savior's Champion by Jenna Moreci. I don't know if I'm saying that right. This is a book that I'm pretty sure I heard Brittany from Brittany the Bibliophile talk about this book, that she wanted to read this book. I don't know if she ever did, or if she did, I don't know if she liked it, but I thought it sounded really interesting. So this is about this world. There is a girl who is known as the savior of this realm, area, what have you, that is like really revered. So it's come time for her to get married, and in order to get married, there's this like tournament that all these men are like fighting in or competing in this tournament. So the main character decides to compete in this tournament because to try to win the savior's hand in marriage, and in doing so, I read something along the lines that it would save his family. I don't know how that would happen, but I thought it sounded interesting, so we'll see. I haven't heard literally anything about this book, but I thought it sounded cool. So the next one that I wanted to read is Docile. I'm pretty sure that's how you say that, by KM, and I'm probably gonna butcher this one, Szpara? Maybe? I don't know. I wanted to read this because before all of the COVID shutdown things happened, I watched Julie from Pages and Pens. She went to some sort of convention. I don't remember. This was a really long time ago. And she had, I think she got an arc of this. She either got an arc or heard about this book coming out. And so that's how I first heard about this book. But then I've also heard some bad reviews since this book came out, that people don't really care for it. But as far as I know, this is like a dystopian type world where there is a program, I'm assuming, called the Docile program, where there are some people that are in debt become dociles to richer people. I don't know. But this is about this guy that I guess his mother was a docile and she had a bad experience with it. But he chooses to become a docile because his family is in debt and he wants to try to relieve those debts. And he becomes a docile to this guy whose family created the whole Docile, I'm not really sure how you say that, program. I don't know. I've heard there's some BDSM elements in this, maybe, but I'm not really sure if this is like a romance, and I don't know if that's why people don't really care for it or not. I'm not really sure, but I do know that you're supposed to know it is a like dystopian kind of novel, and that's kind of what interested me more so in this rather than like the romantic or sexual aspects of it. Was more like the dystopian-ness of it. So I'd like to read it and just kind of see my thoughts on it and see if I agree with a lot of people who didn't like this, or if I'm going to enjoy it. So, okay, so the next one that I have is actually going to be 2 books, and that's going to be Godsgrave, and then let's see if I can hold both of these up, and then Darkdawn by Jay Kristoff. So let's do it like this, maybe? I don't know. So I read Nevernight, which is the first book in this series, last year, and I really enjoyed it. So I would like to continue the series and finish the series and see what I thought. Especially since the first book, I had an idea of where it was going to go and how it was going to end. Like, I was pretty sure I knew what was going to happen, and then it did not happen. In fact, like, the exact opposite of what I thought was going to happen happened. So I'm very interested to see where it's gonna go, because I was like, okay, I know it's a 3-book series. I know this is how, you know, the first one's gonna end, and then we've got these people, and it's gonna be great. And nope. So I'm just, I have no idea what to expect coming into these. But I'm pretty interested. So Nevernight is about this girl. Her name is Mia Corvair, and her family, when she's really young, gets murdered, and she almost gets murdered, but she's able to escape, and she ends up growing up with the sole purpose of exacting revenge on the people that murdered her family. So in the first Nevernight, she ends up going and getting into this like school or academy of assassins to become the best assassin ever, so that then she can go and find the people that were responsible and killed her family and kill them. So it is definitely an adult book. It is very dark and gruesome, but it was pretty cool. Oh, and it's also a fantasy too, because she's got this like shadow cat that is her like companion, and she can like do things with this cat. I'm not really sure what else, but it was pretty cool. So I'd like to finish the series. The next one has a lot of hype with it, and that is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Brigid Kemmerer. I'm probably butchering all of these author names. I'm sorry. But this is another one that has a lot of hype on YouTube that everybody really likes. And I originally wasn't really planning on reading this book. Just because I know it is basically a Beauty and the Beast retelling where this girl gets transported out of the real world to this other fantasy type world. And I was just kind of like, everybody does the Beauty and the Beast retelling. I'm not that interested, but everybody loves this book. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. Maybe I'll also really, really like this book. So I thought I would pick it up and at least see if I like it. So another one that I would like to read is going to be A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. So I was looking at Goodreads and I recently saw that there's apparently some controversy about this book, about it being racist. I don't know, I didn't really delve too much into that, but I wanted to read this book just because I've read a couple of Naomi Novik's books before. I read Uprooted, which I really liked, and then I also read, what is it, Spinning Silver, I think it's her other book that I read, which that one was okay. I didn't dislike it, but I also didn't like super like it. It was just kind of meh. But I was hoping that I would just give her another shot and see if I like this one. And I also really like this one and wanted to read it just because when I found it on Amazon, in the little like description about what this book is about, one of the first lines that was in it was, it said, "I decided that Orion Lake needed to die after the second time he saved my life." And I read that line and I was like, done. I don't need to know literally anything else about this book. Just from that one line, I want to read it because she sounds awesome. She sounds... I just think that sounds really cool. So otherwise, I have no idea what happens in this book. I know it's some sort of magic school or something. But I know literally nothing else that happens in this book. So if that line doesn't play much of part in this book, I'm going to be really disappointed. But I also wanted to show you, I really love the inside of this. It's got this really cool, like, map. I guess, I'm assuming this is the school, but I just thought that was so cool. I love it when books have, like, neat, like, building structures or maps or different things like that in them, so I thought that was really neat. The next one that I have is another one that was pretty popular last year. That's going to be Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. So I thought this sounded really cool, and this is my, over here, I'm still trying to figure out how to do videos, so excuse me. This is my book of the month book version of this. So this is, what I know about this is a, as the name suggests, this is a Gothic book. This is about this girl. She gets a letter, I think it's a letter, from her cousin who is newly married, asking her to come save her from her husband. I don't know, that sounded interesting. It gave me, I like Gothic stories, or at least I think I do. I don't know how many Gothic stories that I've actually read, but this gave me hardcore, sorry, I'm trying to look through my notes. Oh, Crimson Peak. If you've seen that movie, if this gave me really hardcore Crimson Peak vibes with, who's in it, Tom Hiddleston, and I loved that movie. I thought it was like so eerie, and the Gothic, and like the mansion, it was super creepy. So I'm hoping that's what this is like, is that just like eeriness and like horror with the Gothic kind of feel to it, but set in Mexico. So I don't know, we'll see. The next book that I'd like to read is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. So I have another Leigh Bardugo book, so I have Six of Crows. And I don't know why I keep wanting to read Leigh Bardugo. I keep wanting to give her a chance because I read the Grisha trilogy, like I said earlier. I did not like it, but I so want to like her books. So I'm hoping if I don't like Six of Crows, which is another YA book, that maybe I might prefer her adult book a little bit better. So this is about a girl who gets this opportunity to go to Yale. Like I don't know if she gets this like scholarship, something, but when she gets to Yale, because she was given this opportunity, she is tasked with monitoring these secret societies that are at Yale, and there's like a bit of like the occult involved, and I don't really know what else. I don't really want to know what else because I don't want anything ruined for me about this book, but I thought that sounded pretty cool, and I would like to try it out and see what I think, if I like it. Then the next one that I have is going to be Lovely War by Julie Berry. So I wanted to read this because Haley what's her channel name? Haley in Bookland. I'm sorry if I get your channel name really wrong, but anyway, she read this book and raved about it, about how much she loved this book, and I thought it sounded so cool. So this is a love story, but is a love story told by Aphrodite, like the Greek goddess Aphrodite, and she's telling this story to her husband Hephaestus and her lover Ares. And she's telling it spans, I don't know if the love story takes place in World War I, but I know, and then like goes to World War II, but I know both of the Great Wars where this takes place. But I just thought that was like so interesting that a Greek god, Aphrodite, the goddess of love, is the one narrating the story, which I really like because what book is that? The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak does that, where death is the narrator of that story, and I just think that's such an interesting concept. So I really hope that I like this book. That's the last book, like physical copy book that I own, that I want to read, and I'm only going to talk about one ebook series that I have. There's a lot of other like indie books from indie authors that I want to read this year, but I just couldn't really think of too many, and I thought this was enough books to have on a TBR for this year, because like I said, I don't even know if I'm going to read any of these books. Like I said, I am a mood reader. I don't tend to do well with TBRs or stick to them. If I make a TBR, sometimes I only read like 1 or 2 books off of it, so we'll see how I do. But the other book this is a series of books that I would like to try to read this year, and I will either over here or over here, I will put the pictures of the books, is the Thorn Chapel series by Simone. I read the first book, and I don't remember what it's called. Whatever it is, it'll be up here somewhere. And I loved it. But then I didn't continue on to it because I heard the second book was terrible, which makes me really sad because Simone is one of my all-time favorite authors. I love her. I've loved literally every book that I've read by her, and I've read almost all of her books. There are a few books in her like London Lovers series, I don't think I've read that one. A couple books in her New Camelot series. I read the main series, but then there's a couple of books that take place that are kind of like spin-offs that take place afterwards, or like one that takes place a little bit before it that I haven't read because I don't really care about the characters. And then I haven't finished her like priest series. I read the first one, but I haven't finished it, and I do want to finish that series, but otherwise I've read all of her other books. So I would like to try to finish this series, and I'm kind of hoping that since it is a 4-book series, the last book recently came out, that even if I read the second one and hate it, maybe it'll be redeemed and kind of come around since it's a series and be better in like the 3rd and 4th book. Or at least if something bad happens, things will get resolved and things will get better by the end of the series. So this series is kind of weird. It's about this like group of friends, or at least the first book is about this girl who goes back to this area that she used to live when she was a child, and meets up with these people that she used to be friends with. So it's like a group of friends kind of getting back together at Thorn Chapel, this like house. And the main character girl is tasked with, there's like this big library, and she's tasked with like, I don't know if she's like restoring the books in the library or something along those lines. And they end up discovering a lot of like secrets that happened with like their parents at this house. It's really weird, but it was really good. There's a lot of like BDSM elements to it. I think, if I'm remembering right, I think all of the 6 friends are bisexual. I could be wrong on that. It's a lot, but I want to continue reading it and finish the series because, like I said, I love Simone. This is the first book. Her first book in the series is what got me into Simone, and I read it and I was like, okay, I need to read literally everything else that this author has written. And like her New Camelot series is one of my all-time favorite book series. I love it so much. So I'm hoping that I really continue to enjoy this series and that it becomes another like all-time favorite series, and then I can just keep riding the Simone train for the rest of my life because I love her so much. So yeah, so that was a long list. This is going to be a really long video, and I'm sorry. But those are all of the books that I would like to try to hopefully read this year and get all these books read and off of my TBR so I can just move on to other books, my never-ending list of books that I want to read. But yeah, so I'm glad you all came to watch this video. And I hope to subscribe to my channel if you like my content, and hopefully I can keep making videos for you all. So thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.